Instagram. Get ready to turn your dream experience into reality.
Welcome to News 9. You are watching On Point with me. In today's edition, I have 3 on points for you. Stalin sharpens his attack on Hindi and says no to third language in schools. BJP hits back at Stalin and says his stand is a political ruse. Peace shatters in Manipur as militants from the hills fire on a temple in Imphal Valley. At the same time, Kuki group term Arambai Tangol surrender of arms an empty gesture. Himachal Pradesh turns to temple funds to tackle financial crisis, requests contributions to support 2 welfare schemes in the state. But first, headlines. Avalanche hits Badrinath, 40 workers trapped under snow, 16 rescued, relief operation underway. Prime Minister Modi meets European Union chief as India and Europe agree to collaborate on trade, tech and security. Amit Shah orders action against network that helps Bangladeshis, Rohingya enter India illegally in Delhi security review meet. Heavy snowfall, rains trigger landslides in Himachal Pradesh, key roads blocked. Indian economy grows at 6.2% in October-December quarter. GDP growth for financial year estimated to be 6.5%. Allahabad High Court asks ASI to clean Jama Masjid in Sambhal. Five killed, 20 injured in blast at mosque in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Bloodbath on Dalal Street, Sensex, Nifty tank nearly 2%. And Trump to meet Zelensky tonight as the US president seeks to end war between Russia and Ukraine. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister MK Stalin seems to be making the language issue the cornerstone of his political campaign for 2026. Stalin launched another attack on Hindi on Friday. Let's just come to the point. He said BJP leaders advocating Hindi insist you must know Hindi to buy tea, pani puri or use toilets in North India. In the age of AI, forcing any language as a third language in schools is unnecessary. Advanced translation technology already removes language barriers instantly. Students should not be burdened with extra languages. They should focus on mastering their mother tongue and English while gaining expertise in science and technology. If needed, they can learn any language later. True progress lies in innovation, not linguistic imposition. This comes a day after his claim that Hindi had swallowed 25 Indian languages. He also flagged delimitation and language issue being the 2 most critical challenges for Tamil Nadu. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw slammed Stalin on this issue and urged Rahul Gandhi to clarify his position on the language row and DMK's anti-Hindi stand because both are partners. Ashwini Vaishnaw says poor governance will never be hidden by such shallow attempt to divide society. It will be interesting to know what the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi ji has to say on this subject. Does he, as an MP of a Hindi-speaking state, agree? Not just Vaishnaw, but political activist Yogendra Yadav also criticized Stalin for his anti-Hindi tirade and made a very interesting point. And I would like to bring this point in my debate. There are a couple of things he wants to say and I'll put it on record. Disappointed that a senior leader like Stalin has made these remarks. I stand with you and the people of Tamil Nadu against partisan governor withholding of central grants and any forced language policy. Opposition to central government should not turn into opposition to Hindi. This statement is in poor taste as it attacks a language not just it advocates. It is factually weak. All modern languages have been standardized by subsuming neighboring languages, reducing them to dialects. Recognizing these languages is important, but blaming only Hindi for this process is misleading. Politically, this won't win support from speakers of these sub-languages of Hindi. The real issue is not Hindi versus Tamil, but all Indian languages against the dominance of English. And he went on to speak on the issue of language. Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi also criticized the state's rigid two-language policy, stating that in opposing Hindi, it ends up restricting students from learning even other South Indian languages. He emphasized the need to provide young learners with the choice to study multiple languages instead of limiting their opportunities. They feel that, unfortunately, in the name of opposition to Hindi, they are not allowed to study even any other South Indian languages. This is indeed unfair. Our youth must have a choice to study language.
Why the Congress party is silent on negative propaganda which is making by the Tamil Nadu CM MK Stalin pertaining to the Hindi imposition and delimitation process. As far as Hindi imposition, the allegations which made by the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, it is far away from the truth. Let you observe the new education policy of the Union government under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. It is very clear that up to 5th standard, respective states can introduce their education system in their regional language, and it can be extended up to 8th standard also. That option had given by the Union government. In such case, where is the imposition of Hindi? And 3 optional subjects, which is not mandatorily mentioned Hindi as the one option. In such case, where is the imposition of Hindi?
Tamil Nadu is facing a critical situation because of the incompetent chief minister we have in the history of Tamil Nadu. If there were to be a contest to find out who is the most incompetent chief minister in India, Stalin will bag the first prize. What is happening here is a rule of dynasty in the name of democracy. And all Mr. Stalin is interested to act as shoot in the morning and the evening, giving fanfare statements, instigating people. That's what is happening right now. And the state, which is shamelessly borrowed close to 3.5 lakh crores now, in the next 1 year it is going to borrow another 1.5, going to cross 5 lakh crores in borrowings with zero social welfare schemes. I would say zero social welfare schemes or any new initiatives from DMK. That's what the reality is. Pushing the youngsters and the next generation deep into drug addiction. And Tamil Nadu is the Amsterdam of India currently. And Stalin doesn't have the spine to stand up and accept this. And there is a severe deterioration of law and order and severe threat to the safety of women and children in the state of Tamil Nadu. That's what the reality, on ground reality is.
देखिए क्यों उल्टे सीधे बयान देकर लोगों को गुमराह करके आप इस तरह के इल्जाम लगा रहे हैं, जब आप भी जानते हैं कि आपने खुद एनईपी का ना सिर्फ स्वागत किया था बल्कि उसको लागू भी किया था तमिलनाडु में। और अब क्यों है कि आपको उसमें इतनी खामियां नजर आ रही हैं? ऐसा क्या हुआ 4-4.5 साल बाद? क्या ऐसा तो नहीं कि क्योंकि चुनाव आ रहे हैं, कोई मुद्दा है नहीं, लोग आपसे परेशान हैं, एक बदलाव चाहते हैं और उसके चलते आप भय के कारण एक ऐसा इशू को आप भुना रहे हैं जो है ही नहीं। हर एक जगह पे एनईपी जो है उसमें 3 लैंग्वेज फॉर्मूला दिया गया है। किसी भी भाषा का किसी भी तरह से इम्पोजिशन नहीं है। तो आप जानबूझकर ऐसी बातें कर क्यों लोगों को भड़का रहे हैं?
On this issue, I am joined by Kasturi Shankar, actor, activist and lawyer, Nirmal Ibrahim, columnist and political analyst, Ramakrishna Upadhyay, senior journalist, Ajit K. Jha, psephologist and senior journalist. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. Let me straight away go to Kasturi Shankar. Why is Stalin opposing the third language? Today with his tweet, his opposition is very clear. It's crystal clear. He's saying no to third language. Keep Hindi aside. It's just the mother tongue in English. Why has he taken this position? That's one. And the second is the tweet he has made. I think that sort of in a disparaging way, he has used the word Hindi to be used for Pani Puri in toilets. I mean to say this was completely uncalled for.
Okay. Hi, thanks for having me on the show. Kartikeya, first question. Why is Stalin now categorically rejecting the third language policy on the whole? Till yesterday, the narrative was stop Hindi imposition because it was all about the elections are less than a year away, and Hindi resistance has been a working formula for the DMK in its previous avatars. So it's understandable that they had to set the agenda starting now for Tamil Nadu as we go forward and put the BJP, which has been making strides in the state, put it on the defensive. So the idea is to present the central government as a villain, and what better way than to start the narrative of Hindi imposition again. But the problem was it was quickly countered because the national education policy does not say you have to learn Hindi. It does not mandate Hindi as the third language. It says learn one extra language. It can be anything. It can be Manipuri. It can be Sikkimese. Learn one extra Indian language in school, in government-run schools where free education is provided. They want you to provide that one extra language. Stalin does not want that now because till yesterday he was saying we oppose the policy because of Hindi. Now he cannot go back completely, so he has to say, hey, wait, we oppose the policy anyway, Hindi or not. But the pejoratives, yes, very unfortunate, but Kartikeya, and to the panelists here and to the people watching, you have to know that that is the general perception in Tamil Nadu. We do not use Hindi for anything other than to speak to Hindi migrants and Hindi street vendors. So just like how Indians used to be seen as cab drivers in New York just a decade ago, I'm not justifying it. I'm just telling you how it is on the streets, the perception that we don't really see what the benefit of Hindi is to Tamil-speaking people. We don't see too many people writing UPSC exams or becoming national-level operators in any capacity. We don't see cops in Delhi. We don't see, central government employees. And there are, and they seem, everybody learns every language when it comes to a requirement. But the people we see in Tamil Nadu, that's what I'm saying. We don't see these people. The people we see speaking in Tamil Nadu are the people who are migrant vendors, street vendors, or migrant laborers. Okay. So I think that kind of seep through. Again, it's very unfortunate. Head of state, a chief minister should not have chosen such language. But this is what's going on.
Absolutely. See, there are three sides to this story. One, you are opposed to the third language. Second, you have taken a position around Hindi, understandable election around. And the third, the tweet. BJP leaders advocating Hindi insist you must know Hindi to buy tea, pani puri or use toilets in North India. Nothing is written without any intention, When chief ministers, powerful politicians write and put out a tweet like that, it has a text and a subtext. Isn't that, Mr. Upadhyay?
Thank you, Karthikeyan, for having me. I think this has a whole background to this, discussion. Let me start with this three-language formula. I know why Stalin is, taking on Hindi, because there is a whole history behind it. Before that, let me point out this so-called three-language formula has been a hoax as far as the South is concerned. It's only the southern states which have implemented it. So can you please tell me whether in UP or Bihar or Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan, which is the third language being taught? Are they being taught any other language other than Hindi and English?
Sanskrit.
Do they ever get to learn any of the South Indian languages? So this is one of the issues which riles the South Indians, because they say for the last so many decades we are sincerely learning Hindi and we make an attempt to learn Hindi.
Just a small intervention. I, as
Yeah.
a student in 1980s, I studied in Sadar Patel Vidyalaya in Delhi. I was given 4 options. I'm not saying that if this is true for me, it's true for everyone in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. I'm just saying that Gujarati, Urdu, Tamil and Bengali. I was too afraid to study Tamil. I found it difficult. I had no idea of what Urdu would be because, the whole script was different. Gujarati textbooks were this big. So as a child, I went for Bengali. I found the letters familiar and I found the course books shorter. So, this is how I as a student made my choice without informing my parents that Bengali is going to be my third language. And I did that and let me tell you, and for 3 years, I consistently gave retests. I'm being very honest. For 3 years, I consistently gave retests. Every time they just pushed me that he has done well in other subjects, but he's flunking his Bengali. So, there are other things when you introduce languages, people don't talk about that. It's tough for children when you introduce them to classical languages in 5th or 6th. People have even not touched that issue. When they're supposed to study the language, because language is culture, word is the world, and the world is the word. People don't even talk about that. But anyway, Mr. Pat, the point I'm trying to make is I have done that. I have gone through that rigmarole for 3 years.
Let me point out, Karthikeyan, you have studied in one of the probably very good schools which offered multiple languages, which is not the case in the majority of schools. You either you have a third language which is supposed to be in South especially it is Hindi. Very clearly it is Hindi. And a lot of people have taken third language as Hindi. But my point is just that there is so much of resentment when the central government says that you must learn Hindi. You see, there is no operational requirement for Hindi in the South. When the metro started about a decade ago in Bangalore, they tried to name some of the stations in Hindi. They started making announcements in Hindi. People said, look, why Hindi here? We need Kannada and English. That's more than enough. And if there is a third language is required, it should be Tamil or Telugu. They are the majority of people, not Hindi speaking. And then, there was so much of hullabaloo about this and it was all removed. You see, this comes because of, trying to impose it. The fact of the matter is, when the central government or, people started saying, hey, why don't you learn Hindi? People say, why? Why should I learn? I don't have any need for it. And in spite of the fact that the South Indians make an all-out effort to learn language, this is a kind of insulting treatment that they get. But apart from that, I want to get into the issue why Stalin has taken up this issue, because he's on a very sticky wicket and he knows this election is going to be do or die for him. And there's a history of an anti-Hindi agitation in Madras and Tamil Nadu. Everybody knows in 1963 how there was a huge agitation which led to riots in 1965 when 70 people were killed. And the government of India had to give an assurance under Lal Bahadur Shastri that we will not impose Hindi. This was what Jawaharlal Nehru had given that assurance in the to the South, and he had died in 64. And there was an attempt to impose Hindi on the South. And Lal Bahadur Shastri was also very keen on imposing it. And after these riots, it was taken back. And after that also there have been constant demand about Hindi being called the national language. This is another issue which, South doesn't agree. No, it's not a national language. It's one of the official languages.
Whether it's a linked language, those are different nomenclatures. Let me introduce Nirmal Abraham.
Yes, I agree. But there is no national language. I think people have to be clear.
I think the word which is used is Raj-Kaj ki bhasha. But anyway, I will not take that debate there because it's a different it's a different chapter altogether.
It makes South Indians very emotive on this issue.
But Nirmal, is it about Hindi? Is it just about the coming elections? Because I don't see it in isolation. Even Udayniti Stalin and the position he has taken vis-a-vis Sanatan Dharma, they fall into one space. But the Hindi debate is not separated from the positions Udayniti has taken on Sanatan Dharma. I don't think they are in parallel ecosystem. It's one thing, Nirmal.
Yeah, I think there are two reasons why they've taken this stand, especially because, as one of the panelists rightly pointed out, DMK is actually on a sticky wicket. They were struck in the midst of many controversies before they could bring this up and heat up this issue. For instance, someone mentioned the transportation of illegal drugs, illegal alcohol, safety issues. We all read about a bunch of DMK flag holders chasing a woman in a car. We learned about Kalpana Naik, a police officer who says her life is in danger because she exposed certain anomalies within the department. So there were many issues surrounding the DMK that was actually tarnishing their reputation. But thankfully for them, this issue, they got heated up and they were able to bring this up. And the beneficiary in this case, I would say, is both the BJP and the DMK. They will both benefit slightly, although not as much as they did in 1965, because back then, Hindi was actually, they were trying to impose Hindi back then. But now, as Ms. Kasturi mentioned, Hindi is not imposed. It is, you could learn any regional language for that matter. So that's one. The second thing is, for me, I would have advocated for the DMK if it was a matter of principle for them. But from judging from what has happened in the last few weeks and what I've heard from their party members, I do not stand with what they say, because if Hindi is a matter of principle, they would not have taught it in private schools, apparently owned by some of the DMK ministers and leaders. And roughly speaking, 9 out of 10 DMK leaders own a private school, which includes both matriculation and CBSE schools, where Hindi is taught. They don't have an issue with that. Most of the DMK leaders' children go to schools, CBSE schools, where Hindi is taught. They don't have a problem with that. So the thing is, BJP, on the one hand, is able to project themselves as a major opposition as the more this issue goes on. DMK is able to conveniently distract people from the other issues that are affecting them in the meantime. But the real people who suffer are the unfortunate middle class, the children of the unfortunate middle class who are forced to go to government schools because of financial constraints. They're the ones struggling. So I think the unfortunate fact of this is that, as I said, both the parties would benefit slightly, but I don't think it's a matter of principle. If it's a matter of principle, they would have followed it consistently across the board.
Okay, I'll come to you, Kasturi. Let me allow just Ajit to speak. He hasn't got the chance. Do you really agree with the hypocritical position which Nirmal just spoke about?
Well, obviously, Karthikeya, given the fact that elections are around the corner, just 1 year from now, and the issue has picked up right now, there has to be an electoral and political rhetoric to it.
Picked up is an understatement. The entire government is engaged.
But having said that, you see, language in India is related to subnationalism, and we know that, right? I mean, we've had language riots in this country. The entire federal structure has emanated out of a language policy. So, therefore, to impose any kind of language on any state, especially on Tamil Nadu, which has had a whole history of Dravida movement, not only today when the Orientalists under British rule started this notion about Tamil being, somehow not older than Sanskrit. There was a reaction from Tamil scholars all over the world. In fact, there's a raging debate which goes on. So this entire issue is connected to this whole Dravida versus Indo-Aryan kind of issue. So the point is, the government's new education policy has to be sensitive to that. You can't have one formula for the whole country. In the US is a federal country. You don't have the same language formula across, right? I mean, in California, for example, there's a very large number of speakers who speak Spanish. You can't thrust it down, let's say, in New York. So I think the way it is all being handled by the government under the NEP is basically very hostile to southern states, given their sort of cultural stand, given their links to subnationalism. And as I pointed out in a debate yesterday, it is true what Stalin said, that several of the North Indian languages, and by the way, not dialects as Yogendra Yadav has rubbed it wrongly. I'm talking about languages like Maithili, my mother tongue, which is 1300 years old. Hindi is barely, Bharatendu Harishchandra started it about 250 years ago. Maithili has a longer literature, but Maithili had to give up its script for Hindi. So it is true what Paul Brass during his research pointed out, that the Punjabi Subha movement, Punjabi, Maithili, Urdu have suffered a great deal because of Hindi in the north. So I think it's a similar sentiment. That's what I'm saying, that India is a country, a mosaic of subnationalism. Therefore, to shove it down the throat of any state is not right. People, governments in the past have done it, and again it is happening. And unfortunately, because of elections coming, it has picked up a political character. And Nirmal Abraham rightly pointed out, the DMK will gain a lot because there is fierce anti-incumbency.
Because Mr. Jha, DMK has picked up three issues. One, they have picked up the issue of culture, Sanatan Dharma. Second, they have picked up the issue of delimitation, which is again very fiercely debated, from 70s onwards, when this choice was in front of Indira Gandhi when she froze it. And obviously the language, I take your point that India has not been reorganized on the ethnicity principle. The reorganization has taken place on the linguistic principle. That's that has remained so. Yes, Kasturi Shankar, you wanted to comment.
Okay, so many points, but I'll start with the one immediate point that Nirmal Abraham raised about how in this political tug of war, the poor, less affluent children of Tamil Nadu are the ones that are denied an opportunity. This is where we South Indians, and I will take Mr. Upadhyay in my side as well, we differ. Exactly what is the struggle? Let's get back to point number one. We don't see any tangible benefit. And I say this without offense. I say this as somebody who speaks, voluntarily loves and speaks 9 Indian languages. I love Hindi. I have a lot of religious inculcation in me in Hindi as well. But I don't see a tangible benefit to struggling several hours taking tuition classes. This is the story of my own son. He's in 7th grade in Hyderabad. He's forced to learn 2, not 1, but 2 mandatory languages, Hindi and Telugu. And he's struggling in both. All the time that we could possibly be making an engineer or a doctor out of this boy, we are trying to make him just pass in Hindi and Telugu, which also doesn't happen half the time.
I fully empathize with him. I fully understand. I fully understand.
So what is the struggle? We are not struggling for an extra language, Nirmal, right now. If we want to learn it, there are free Hindi Prachar Sabhas. There are free Gujarat Mandilis. There are free even Manipuri clubs in Tamil Nadu. We will go to them. But we would much rather learn a Japanese or a French because that's what we need in Tamil Nadu today. We have 3 different Japanese factories in Chennai and Tirupur alone. And that is the need of the hour, and people are going. They are actually paying to learn that language. So don't even come with the all children are
quickly for everyone. Yes.
Just a point I want to make, Karthikeyan.
Okay, quickly. 30 seconds to you. 30 seconds. Nirmal, I'll come to you. A minute to you, Kasturi, and then I need to close it.
1 minute, khatam kar dungi main. Yogendra Yadav's tweet, which you took, Karthikeyan.
Yes.
Yogendra clearly is a Hindi speaker, and I like to call it the Delhi mentality, where people think that everybody outside their posh Hindi circle has to speak Hindi with a Lucknowi, Allahabadi twang. And I've experienced this myself, the attitude, the arrogance, if you will, of the perfect Hindi speaker, laughing and belittling people who are making an effort when it's not their native tongue. Yogendra Yadav's tweet smacks of that arrogance when he calls every other North Indian language that has given way to Hindi as a dialect. Okay. And number 2, when he says Hindi and Tamil and all other bhashas against English. No, sir, don't be the kuwe mein frog. Kuwe mein frog mat bano aap. It is, English is the global language. We need that. Even if Yogendra Yadav doesn't.
Well, the word for it is Koop Manduk. Nirmal, to you. And then I'll come to Mr. Upadhyay. Nirmal.
I'll quickly come. I think this is a very arcane debate.
I'll come to Mr. Upadhyay. Nirmal first. Nirmal.
Yeah. So, as Ajit Jha pointed out, Spanish is taught in California, and the reason it is taught in California is because Spanish is the 2nd most non-English language spoken in the world. Hindi apparently is the 5th most popular and the 5th most spoken language in the world. You would need it. I was born and brought up in Kerala, although I went to the UK later, and I worked in Delhi for the Central Bank. it helped me so much that I had the opportunity to learn Hindi, to be honest. And no offense against Tamil, but Hindi is the most spoken language. Domestically, it is the best and the most spoken. Internationally, it is the fifth most spoken. And I think you are denying a privilege or an opportunity for many, in fact, 52 lakh students studying in government schools in Tamil Nadu to learn a language which is the most popular in the nation, the fifth most popular across the world. So I think that is the issue that I'm trying to raise.
So then
Okay, Mr. Upadhyay, 30 seconds to you. 30 seconds to you.
No, I feel this is an archaic debate in an age when technology helps you to know just one language and know everything else, because it just translates. The technology will give you. If you have, I've seen people carrying a mobile and, you show it in English and the Chinese, this thing will come. So when you have this technology that's available, why are we talking about learning each and every language? I don't understand.
Ajit, is it about cognitive skill? Or is it about the fact that we have, the more things change, more they remain the same. Certain issues which were debated in the Constituent Assembly for more than 3.5 years, the consensus has not reached. And they were parked, for example, a linked language, for example, multiple other things in the directive principles. There's a lack of principle. The consensus that could not be forged then cannot be forged today. And the language being one.
True. You see, I always argue with Yogendra Yadav, who is my very good friend. Why can't English be the linked language, right? I mean, a South Indian and a North Indian can both converse in excellent English. And I have done that throughout, because half my friends all around the world are from Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra. So yes, I mean, I also don't understand Yogendra Yadav's obsession with Hindi. And as I told you, my own language, Bengali for that matter, Odia, have all suffered because of imposition of Hindi on these northern states. Yogendra is a typical Lohiite socialist. He's not as arrogant Hindiwala as the so-called, the present Hindiwalas that is going around. But Lohia had that weakness. He also believed that the entire of India should speak Hindi. He wanted Hindi to be the sort of link language. And that's why I think he's shoving it down the throat of Stalin. But I believe that language is a matter of choice. Whether I want to learn 6 languages, I want my children to study 5 languages, of course it will help their cognitive skills.
I have a different take, I have a different take. In sociology, the language is synonymous with the world, culture. And culture and language are one. But when you teach children a language, how much do you introduce them to that culture? Because my experience was nil, It was like a rote learning. I was trying to pass one year to another. I was just barely making it through. So I don't think, you can introduce a child to the entire gamut of what a language can offer you in 3 years. I think we really need to reimagine our language policy, because if you look at the way our schools function, it's primarily rote learning. I think that is something which has not been focused upon. I thank you, all of you, for making time and you're speaking so frankly on this issue, which divides Indian politics so deeply. Thank you, all of you, for joining. But that's on point one. Don't go away, because on the other side, we will discuss how the militants have shattered peace in Manipur by attacking a temple in Imphal.
Businesses are primarily in India known by their owners.
When you start a business, you don't realize how much you're putting the entire family at risk.
The trust is a big element.
And a typical symbol of trust is usually a banyan tree. And I used to, in my early days, wonder that how will a young